Not only therefore, as in Foucault, prisons, hospitals, discipline, the confession, the panopticon, etc. Foucault is very big. But also what seems less directly connected with power. So, for instance, even writing, literature. And perhaps, why not? Perhaps the first dispositor is language itself, in which one day, in the beginning of humanity, a living being let itself be captured. So this was the beginning, perhaps. But this is not a problem now. So let's go to another more concrete level. So everything will be a dispositive. For instance, I don't know. It's not. This is also a dispositive. A pen or a pencil are dispositors. Of course, the computer is a dispositor. And of course, the horrible mobile phone is the worst dispositor, at least for me. Because perhaps you don't know it, that the mobile phone has completely changed and transformed and shaped the life of my fellow citizens in the country in which I happen to live, which became crazy with this, and they passed their life on. An Italian is a man who do like that now. And my life became impossible because I cannot travel on train or work on train because of the train. So of course, the mobile phone is a dispositor, of course. So we have two huge categories, beings and dispositors. How is the term dispositor? Ridiculous in English?
Yeah,
ridiculous.
It's great.
I know, it's ridiculous. So.
No, it's completely innovative, so you have to affirm it.
That's a method of translation. We're speaking of dispositive. So we have two huge categories, beings and dispositive, and between the two, the subject. I call subject what results from the relationship or the hand-to-hand struggle of a substance and a dispositive. In this sense, an individual can be the place of a multiplicity of process of subjectivation. So he will be the mobile phone subject, the TV zapper subject, etc., etc., to the infinite. So that to the indefinite proliferation of dispositors that defines the present phase of capitalism will correspond an indefinite proliferation of subjectivities, which give the impression of a vacillation of the category of subjectivity, but that it's not an abolition of it, but more properly an infinite splitting and dissemination of subjectivities. So I would say that what characterizes the extreme stage of capitalism in which we are living is precisely the gigantic accumulation of dispositors who are now covering the whole life of man. So they always existed, but in the beginning they had a portion, and now there is nothing who is outside. By the way, of course, in order to work, the dispositor must have captured something which must have to do with something very important for man. Desire, expectation. So perhaps the horrible mobile probably captures in itself, I don't know, the desire for communication of man, which in itself is not bad at all. It becomes bad when it is captured by the dispositive. So we have to distinguish from what is captured in the dispositive, which can be something human and very good, and the fact that it is taken in the power game of the dispositive. Now, what must we do to cope with this situation? What is the strategy we must follow in our fight with the dispositive? What can I do with people with the mobile phone? Probably killing them is not the right solution, if I tempted to do it. So that's why I would like now to introduce a concept on which I have worked recently, and which seems to me to suggest a possible strategy in the eternal struggle between man and dispositors. This concept is profanation. 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 It's a juridical concept. It's a technical juridical concept. In Roman law, things or persons or places that in some way belonged to the gods were said to be sacred or religious. As such, they were removed from the free use of man. They could neither be sold or given in power or usufruct or not. They were withdrawn from the usage. Any act that transgressed this special unavailability of the sacred object was sacrilegious. The verb to consecrate, sacrare, meant the exit of things from the sphere of human use and the separation in another sphere. Conversely, to profane and profanation meant to return these things to the free use of man. So the great Roman jurist Trebatius can write, we name profane something that was once sacred or religious, and it is now returned to the use and property of man. So thus to profane, profanation means to give back something to the free use of man, to take it out from the separation. Because religion, a good definition for religion is a dispositive that will remove things, places, animals or people from common use and transfer them to a separate sphere, called the sacred. So the apparatus that affects this is sacrifice, as you know. So the sacrifice is the set of acts and rules who will regulate the transition from something, from the profane sphere to the sacred, and conversely, the transition from the sacred to the profane. And sometimes the profanation can be very, in the Roman sacrifice can be very, very simple. For instance, during the sacrifice, the victim was offered, killed, the animal was killed and offered. The god only ate the interiors. They don't like beef steaks. So only the interiors, heart, liver, etc., etc. The rest, the whole was consecrated. But once the interior were separated, the rest were profanated simply by touching them. Contagione. So then everyone could eat them. No? After the sacrifice, everyone could eat, because they now were profane. So another example, more interesting perhaps, of profanation, so of the passage from the sacred to the profane, can happen in a very curious, incongruous use of the sacred. I mean the play. You know perhaps that most of the games with which we are familiar derive from ancient religious ceremonies, from divinatory practices, from rituals that once belonged to the sacred sphere. So all the play children play, for instance, Ring Around the Rosie, the round dance of the children, was originally a marriage rite.